And we are back, ladies and gentlemen. Appreciate y'all for tapping in with us on this Friday, man. You know, the whole world is talking about coaching, Brian. You're talking about these, different guys the Cowboys are evaluating, but man, we watching players. We are watching coach ambiguous players. So no matter what the staff is gonna be, we're gonna know all of them, Brian. And we had a little homework assignment last night. I even told you guys who we watching, so y'all can go do your homework yourself. Armand Mims, Missouri's offensive tackle, Donovan Jackson, Ohio State guard / tackle, which I was like, all right, that's cool.
Yeah.
Gunnar Helm, Texas tight end, and Chris Paul, Ole Miss linebacker. Man, Brian, we love to play this little game. Who you think I like the least?
Who do you think you like the least out of that whole group?
Yeah.
This is going to be interesting because.
Or is it best? Do we do best to least? We do best, huh?
Let's do best. Let's do best to least.
All right, cool. Who do I like the most?
You are going to. Okay, let me see here. You're gonna like Paul the best. Then it's gonna go probably the Missouri tackle. Then Jackson and Helm.
Paul's last for me, Brian.
Is he really?
I got Paul in the 4, and I got Jackson in the 3.
Okay.
I got Helm in the 2nd, and I got Mimbao also in the 2nd. And I think we could talk about where in the 2nd he can go. So let's go.
Start with Mimbao then and I'm interested to see because. When I start to look at my second round guys, Millam from West Virginia. Yeah. I don't know if you've seen Jones from LSU, the
Emory
tackle
Jones
from LSU, Emory Jones, and then Connerly were my second round tackles. And then in the third, I had like Cameron Williams, Charles Grant, Mimbao, and then Ursery are the guys I had there. So tell me about Mimbao in the second round, if you would, and I'll try and counter you with what I think.
So the first thing I had to do, Brian, is I try to watch film blind. I try to remove myself from people's opinions. If you walk into this thing going, oh yeah, that's Dane Brugler's 12th player on his mock draft, and he's 18th on his big board, then you'll walk into it hating the player, right?
Absolutely,
I didn't want to hate the player, so I had to erase my mind of everything and go in blind. I'll tell you what, Brian, we have another athletic tackle here. He plays on the right side. He's probably a player that can play both sides, but that comes down to the teams working him out and seeing how he's moving. He moves well, going left or right. Brian, something I like to do with my offensive lineman, I like to tell you my favorite block from them. This kid can reach his ass off, can't he? This kid reach blocking is ridiculous. I actually think he's a better run blocker than he is a pass blocker. I think as a pass blocker, there's some refinement needed. Sometimes his hands will miss. Sometimes you wouldn't know what to do with them. He does the Tyler Guyton. They get a little wide and they end up on your back. The elbows will flare a little bit. But what the hell is coaching and Duke Manyweather for if you can't fix small stuff like that? But but sometimes, Brian, he does have a rep where he'll strike the hell out of somebody. And them elbows will be tight and that leverage will be good. And I say, woo! Look at him bow, but it doesn't happen all the time. But something that happens a lot is if you're a team that's going to be doing some wide zone, outside zone type stuff, he's going to get busy with his reach blocks. He's going to get busy in open space. He's going to get busy reaching those linebackers, Brian. I think he's really athletic. I think he's a high floor. You hate this. He's a high floor run blocker that's ready to go right now. Pass blocking can use some refinement, but his athleticism can keep him alive in that realm until he figures it out. I saw Dane had him as a tackle / guard. I don't believe in the little bitty ass guards these days, Brian. No. So I'm leaving him at tackle and letting him fly, Brian. Armand Mims from Missouri. Go ahead.
I'll tell you what, man. I agree with you to a point.
Please.
This is where. And maybe I caught some bad games. Texas A&M, South Carolina, trying to look at some edge rushers.
I got Texas
what I think are edge rushers. What I think are edge rushers. And this guy is physically a good-looking player. He's 6'3". He's 314 pounds. I think he has the athletic ability. You see him get away from the line of scrimmage. I think he does have the knee bend. I think he does a good job of getting some depth in his pass sets. And I thought the agility to mirror the defender was there. Where I thought he struggled with is some with quickness. I didn't think that he was doing anything very fast. You know, I kind of watched him. I thought he was very controlled in the way he played. I didn't see a violent guy at all. He tends to extend his hands instead of like the punch. And he'll try and control his man with the length and footwork. But you know, the kid didn't give up a sack in 416 dropbacks this year. So there's a credit to that. The thing I thought, and you said you thought he was a much better run blocker than pass blocker. I have it opposite.
Okay.
I have that opposite. I thought he was good coming off the ball, but I didn't always see sustain with him. And, you know, and the drive to really move his guy. I mean, he's going to really rely on the mass to get the movement. And I thought, to your point, I thought he was better when he could hook his man instead of having to cut him off.
Sure.
You know, that kind of a block. But I saw a guy that thought was a little slow-footed. I have seen him stand around too much instead of trying to finish the block. There's snaps where he appears to be just kind of waiting around for something to happen. I wish there was a nasty side to his game.
Sure.
Some of these tackles, we've seen that. Some of these guards, we've seen that. For a big man, he isn't on the ground. We've talked about him. He's not going to flop around. You're not going to, but you will see him off balance some, but he's not, he's just, it's not bad.
Yeah.
I just thought that he was a really young guy. The tools you like, but I wish he had a better sense of urgency at times.
Sure.
And maybe, and I was hoping, there's some of these tackles, like, so you watch them and they're burying guys. I mean, even our guy from from North Dakota State,
yep.
Those kinds of guys are, they're trying to Zabel, the
Gray
kid
Zabel.
from North Zabel. He's trying to finish. He's trying to bury. I had this kid in the third round, and I'm interested now to see because I had like Cameron Williams, Grant, and him. Those are the two guys I had above him.
Yep.
But I didn't have him as a second round guy, and I'm interested to see where you had him above the guys that I was talking about, or maybe the West Virginia guy, or or Guy Connerly or something like that.
So firstly, just a little more context. I don't think we disagree all that much. He's not a powerful player, right? But my only context that I added, wide zone, outside zone, right?
Yeah.
If that's his scheme, I think he does the run stuff really well. As far as getting out in space, reach block and stuff, he's not going to move anybody backwards. That ain't part of the evaluation. I don't think he's power guy. And to be fair, maybe he's not quick and explosive, but he is smooth. See,
that's what I'm saying. To me, he's so smooth that maybe I'm confusing smoothness with not. And I shouldn't say not caring.
Sure.
But I don't see the quickness.
Urgency,
The urgency. Yeah. If you're really if you're just kind of, you're kind of, that kind of guy, you're kind of setting in there.
You want to know why, Brian? Because it'll take a whole bunch of urgency to block scoring in them. That's why you don't see a bunch of urgency. But that's fair enough. Watch Boston College. Boston. That's another one that I watch, and those guys fly up the field.
Is that because Boston College has got the end that we've all
they got some dudes that get up the field a little bit. Yeah. But as far as my stat goes, Brian, I kind of have an offensive tackle bias because they're more valuable, so they kind of go up the board a little bit.
Oh yeah, they should.
As far as your stat goes, I think you're dead on. So how I got it is, let's just do this. Cameron Williams, Texas.
Yeah.
Right under that, I got Connerly, Oregon.
Right.
And I got Grant with an asterisk. Okay. I got Charles Grant from William and Mary right here.
Yeah.
If he gets his ass whooped at the Senior Bowl, he going straight to the threes.
Okay, I see what you're doing. You got him in a little holding areas.
But I'm assuming he's going to do fine at the Senior Bowl. So I got him at two. I just got him in the twos right here behind Connerly, right? Yeah. I got Mimbao after Grant and before Ursery from Minnesota.
Okay. So you've got those guys kind of in that second round group.
Club sandwiches.
Potentially what happens with some all-star games, maybe some workouts, maybe you get some more tape, like I said, I personally I might be confusing smoothness with lack of
urgency.
Urgency. Yeah. And you told me to go back and watch
Boston College.
Yeah. Making a note of that. So I will sure do that.
Yeah, I do think he has a lot of room to grow as a pass blocker, but he has all the tools to do it. He got all the tools to do it. But just watching him reach guys and get out to the second level and, block linebackers and DBs and stuff like that, it was a joy to watch. But I don't know why the hell Dane Brugler got him so high. I respect the hell out of Dane Brugler, but I got to disagree with this one.
I'll tell you what, man, this is where, and I'm not going to try and get influenced, but I got to ask my gang of 7,
sure.
I'm like, listen, just for point of reference, if someone tells me, man, you've got this kid way wrong, I'll dig more tape and try and kind of figure out what I'm missing here.
Yeah.
But I think I'm going to stay in on this kid. I think I'm going to hang in there. I think there's a couple guys, the thing with the kid Williams from Texas, I'm trying to find somebody.
His feet are slow. He's got slow feet.
See, that's what I'm saying. I might have these two because Grant probably from William and Mary should be ahead of Cameron Williams. I have a hard time with that just because of level of comp, but that's not Charles Grant's fault.
Sure.
You know what I'm saying? That's not his fault.
Yeah.
Hell, some dumb recruiting coordinator like I used to be could have missed Charles Grant.
Sure.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Maybe he should have been playing at Virginia, or maybe he should have been playing at Virginia Tech or North Carolina, one of those places.
Yeah.
We will
see.
So I shouldn't hold it against the kid, but I've got to, man, this kid, and you make a really good point about if you see a guy like, wow, he's got him in the top, he's got him as a top 20 type player. Mm-hmm. I try not to let that, because if that's the case, I probably would have stuck him up at the top, but I think I was harder on him. I was harder on him, and maybe that's a little bit of a problem too.
It's all good, Brian. We're gonna get better every day with this thing. Let's talk about the player that I had the most fun watching. Donovan Jackson.
Okay.
Donovan Jackson, Brian, the offensive lineman from Ohio State. First, let me just say that I think he's a flat out guard. I know people are gonna have guard slash tackle on him.
He is a guard. He's a guard.
I will say
6'4", 320. 6'4", 320.
I will say that it was admirable that when Josh Simmons went down, that he went out there to go play tackle. It was admirable. But boy, I watched him play left tackle versus Abdul Carter. I cut the film off. Yeah. I say this ain't gonna do it. But when you watch him at guard, Brian, this is the dude that plays with some urgency, physicality, and some ass whoop, Brian.
Yes, sir.
Donovan Jackson plays with he can move guys. Now he fires out the football to try to strike and dig guys out of those gaps. Sometimes that firing off the ball and that strike can make him lose his balance and fall forward a little bit. I see him kind of falling around, twisting and moving around sometimes, Brian. But as a guy that steps, boom, board drill off the ball, that's the kind of guy he is. I think he's a really good combo guy. And sometimes they make really good combo guys if you played all over the offensive line before, right? You just understand, how to thump guys or how to move on to the next level. I think he's a decent second level blocker. I don't think he's all that athletic, but he gets the angles. Like he understands the angles getting there.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? He'll do that whole C turn and get up there and block those guys really well.
Oh, yeah.
Like I said, tough player, gritty, good fight to him. I don't think not one time he went to the coaching staff and said, "Hey, I'm getting whooped out here at tackle. Can y'all move me?" I thought he embraced the role and said, "Hey, we gonna live and die out here at tackle." And I think he's a guard and he shouldn't be playing tackle at all. But I respect fight like that, Brian. And I think you need offensive linemen to have tough stuff like that in them. So Donovan Jackson, he'll probably play both guards for you, left guard, right guard. I like him a bunch, and I got him in the third round, at the top of the third round.
Yeah,
Brian.
man, I think you painted a really good picture for our audience there. He was, as you mentioned, he was the starting left guard until Josh Simmons got hurt in the Oregon game, not the Rose Bowl, but during the season, the Big Ten season. Yeah. That's when he had to kick out. He is, I'll say this, he doesn't look natural as a tackle, but you have to, and you said this, and so I'm repeating it a little bit, but you have to be impressed with the way he lined up and played at a high level. He faced some outstanding edge rushers, and he hasn't been a liability. That's the one thing. I mean, you can watch him. He does play the game with angles and footwork, the high football IQ. I mean, I could see him. There were stunts. There were games. He was picking stuff up. I thought the strength was solid. I'd like to see the sustain. You brought that up. There's a little bit more of that initial pop, and then he'll lose that connection with the defender. So you're kind of like, oh, just get
Stay
in
there.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, when he is like blocking downhill, he can do it. And I would call him a functional puller, the way he can kind of get to the outside. He could kick a guy. He could pull. He could seal a guy on the line in the scrimmage. I think there's a physical presence to his game, but his aiming points when he will get knocked out of whack sometimes. Like he'll be, like you said, he'll go a little come off the ball.
Yep.
And then he'll miss. And then he has to kind of try and rally back to get to where he's at.
Yep.
But man, this kid, like I say, there are snaps where you kind of see him struggle to redirect a little bit, and he'll fall off the blocks. But once again, you just got to give him credit. They said, hey, and this is one of the reasons why that maybe we had Danny Cannell on 105.3, the fan who does some stuff with the college football. And I asked Danny this question because if Notre Dame has maybe a little bit of an advantage, the way how beat up Ohio State's offensive line has been, but to give them credit, they've plugged guys in, lost a center, lost a tackle, moved guards. If Notre Dame is going to, Notre Dame's got some veteran guys that we're going to talk about down the road. But if something to keep an eye on is how the Donovan Jackson and these guys are able to manage this championship game on Monday night.
Yeah,
I got him in the third round as well. I don't have I have him in that group. I've got Banks first round, Booker from Alabama, Mimbaugh from where's Mimbaugh from? He's from Purdue. Purdue.
Yeah.
And then Jackson's my first player because I've got him ahead of Ratledge.
Me too.
And Jonah from Zona and Zabel from North Carolina.
Yep.
Not North Carolina, North Dakota State.
Yep. We are in lockstep with that, Brian. The only thing I disagree is that Wyatt Millam should probably be one of your guards. But besides that, we're all on the same page right there, Brian. I got him at the top of the third. I got him over Ratledge, and maybe him and Ratledge got that same kind of problem, like that whole balance thing.
The balance,
feet,
balance,
falling over.
Yeah.
But as far as like moving guys, like I love the ass whoop on both of those guys.
I'm with you.
Fan of him. Bryan Broaddus, you've been teasing us about Gunnar Helm from Texas, the tight end from Texas. You've been wanting to talk about him for a long time, bro. Tell us about the big playmaker, Gunnar Helm.
Yeah, I wore my Texas gear. No, it's just a new. Bennett was getting on me because my gear's not. I didn't. Yeah, I have all this LSU gear. Of course, that's my heart and soul right there. The Tigers, LSU Tigers.
But this vest right here, Brian, you can't even find that online. But you got to get that from the campus, huh? You got to know somebody.
Man, I got it. It's funny. One day I'll tell you a really funny story about Gil Brandt, the Cowboys back in the day. Gil Brandt. I got a great story about him and gear. Speaking of a school, but anyway, let me tell you about this Gunnar Helm. And I will say this though, he is 6'5", he's 250 pounds, and I'll tell you what. Down the stretch for Texas, he was a super reliable player during their playoff run. Yep. I mean, and the word was that the coaches challenged him to be a better player, or he wasn't going to see the field. They basically said, listen, you need to get your S together. And he did. He accepted the challenge. He went to work. The improvement that he made from one season to the next is super, super impressive. You could line this cat up all over the field. Let me tell you who this guy is, though. Let me tell you who this guy is. This kid's Dalton Schultz is who he is. He really is Dalton Schultz. Yeah, he's that type of player. But you could line him up all over the formation, and he'll function well. There's some slippery traits to his game as a route runner because you kind of see him kind of working through, and he's trying to get in between the safeties and the linebackers, and he's through it. But he makes it. He finds ways to free himself. I thought Dalton Schultz was the same kind of guy, kind of finds ways to free himself, presents himself as a target, works underneath, across the field, down the seams. he's going to make a reception. This kid plays on all the levels. And like I say, he had some huge receptions this season. I think he can extend his hands. He catch away from his body, he can snatch it. I think he can make receptions whether he's on the move or somebody's on his back. I mean, he's that kind of a player. I've seen him make a one-handed catch in traffic. I think it was the Georgia game where he was just, he just stuck his hand out and then it was right on his hand there, and he was able to make that play. So as a blocker, he's got functional strength. I think it limits him a little bit, though. Sure. I don't think he's a strong guy. I don't think he's a very powerful guy.
Very willing, though. Very willing.
Very willing.
Yep.
Good effort. Lacks true sustain in his blocks. And you can make him mad. Michigan made him mad, and you saw him coming off, and the whistle's echoing, and he's trying to kind of get the guy moved. But there's times where they'll bring him in motion, and he'll just kind of go in sideways, where you're like, square up, kind of kick that guy out. But man, I mean, there's those times where they've asked him to do that, and he ends up cutting the defender or kind of being thrown aside there. Like I say, it reminds me of Dalton Schultz in the way he plays. I've got this kid. I'll tell you what, there's starting to be a pretty good group of these
tight ends.
These tight ends. I actually do have him in the third round. I've got Fanning from Boston College. Bowling Green Fanning. So I've got Fanning in the top of the third, Helm right below him in the third round as well, with Warren, Loveland, Taylor, and those guys in the second round.
Brian, I tell you what, I actually like the comp of Dalton Schultz. I actually like that, because he navigates as a route runner like that. But if I could add just one more thing, I think he has a little more yak.
Add a bunch.
Yeah. I think he has a little more yak than Schultz. Schultz will catch the ball and kind of get tackled a little bit. I think Gunnar Helm.
That's a 13 guy. Yeah, it's a 13-yard guy per catch. Yeah,
I think Gunnar Helm actually try to run people over or try to jump over somebody, try to stiff arm somebody. I think Gunnar kind of got some of that in him. He attacks back. But everything you said, Brian. Top to bottom, moves around the formation, all this kind of stuff. I like him, Brian. I like him a bunch. And when you see people kind of talk about him, it's early still, but they'll talk about him as like a day 3 kind of guy.
There's people like Pro Football Focus, which we kind of get some of our names from.
Sure.
They've got him as inside the top 60. So they're talking about him potentially as a second round guy.
I got him bunched in there with Loveland and Taylor in the third round. So I got Fannin and Warren in the second, but I got Helm at the top of the third over Loveland and Taylor. But that's 5 damn good tight ends though, Brian.
Yeah, that's and there might be. I don't know if Loveland goes in the first. I think we were trying to. Who was I talking to about? I was talking to somebody about Warren. I think it was Zach Wolchuk, and it was it was just really, really. It was one of those things where you're like, man, I don't know. Because I was asking. I'm sorry, it wasn't Wolchuk. I was talking with John Smelk, who does like what we do for the Giants. Like he's Giants.com. He does a great job with the Giants. He's really, and I was asking him about Loveland and these guys. And I'm thinking, because I was trying to think about, I go, Johnny, you've been around. You remember Dallas Clark? And he goes, yeah, Dallas Clark was kind of a smooth moving. And I'm like, why do I not like Warren more?
Yeah.
I got him in the second round. A lot of people have him up in the first. I just don't. His game to me, I just kind of can't make him a first round guy. I just don't.
I agree.
I see some things about it but I just feel like it just kind of, there's not a lot of juice to it. And that's what bothers me about him.
If you're going to be a first round pick, I need you to be Brock Bowers. If you're not going to be Brock Bowers, I'm putting your ass in the second. That's just how it goes.
Well, did we miss Pitts? Did we miss Kyle Pitts? Did we? I'm going to say I miss Kyle Pitts because I don't know. Maybe our quarterback there, our new quarterback in Atlanta, will figure out how to get Kyle Pitts going.
Mm-hmm.
But I kind of feel like I had him way up high, and then but Brock Bowers absolutely had him. Like my 6th best player on my stack. Mm-hmm. He made me look good, but Kyle Pitts did not make me look good. Put it that way.
We have to investigate Kyle Pitts. I don't know if that's just playing with Marcus Mariota and Kirk Cousins over there, but we'll definitely have to figure out Pitts. We'll see. Last one, Bryan Broaddus. I ain't gonna lie, man. I was conflicted about Chris Paul, the linebacker from Ole Miss. Yeah, and I'm gonna let you lead this one off. But I was conflicted. Just kind of tell me if I'm, on the right page here, Bryan. I didn't think he was particularly fast. I thought he was kind of stiff, but he made a lot of tackles though.
He does that.
He made a bunch of tackles. He found a way to get to the football, but he wasn't an incredible athlete, Bryan. So I was kind of conflicted. I got him in the 4th, but can you give me a rundown on Chris Paul, Bryan?
Yeah, this kid's a transfer. I'd be happy to. This kid's a transfer, and there's people that compare at 6'1", 235 to our guy Bolden.
He doesn't look 235 either. But go ahead.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. There's talk about Bolden, who came out through Kansas City, the linebacker, Missouri. I mean, and that was one of my favorite guys. When I heard somebody compare him to Bolden, I said, no. Now, this guy, you're right about getting to the football. Now, this kid's a transfer from Arkansas. The first thing I noticed about his game is he could tackle. He absolutely can tackle. I think he can wrap up the ball carrier. I think he's got a physical side of him. You'll see him every once in a while, like overrun a player too. But for the most part, he'll get to the ball and get his guy on the ground. He's got some textbook tackling techniques in this area, but I see him play downhill. I thought there was some explosiveness to his first step and a little bit of some burst to be able to pursue. The contact balance, the leverage. I mean, when he was taking on blocks, you could kind of see him getting rid of some guys and then being able to make those plays. Use his hands, I thought, pretty well. When he misses, he could be in trouble. When he misses with his hands, I've seen him not get off blocks and then lose the ball. It goes right past him. But he could look good for 2 or 3 plays, and then after that, not look as good. So I thought there were some productive snaps as a pass rusher. I talked about his burst. I talked about his strength and that ability. He could be really overly aggressive in the way he plays, the effort to get to the ball. Where I think this guy struggles is I don't think he covers very well.
Yeah.
And I was watching that on tape, and I went back and I looked at this on metrics because, we have that ability with Pro Football Focus. I said, I wonder what this guy does when you put him in pass coverage. It's a mixed bag with this guy. He had 4 passes defense for the year, but he also allowed 82% of the passes to be completed against him. That was 513th in the country when it came to that.
Yeah.
So you want him defending the run. Numbers will tell you that. 35 stops as a run defender. That's 47th best in the country. And I love the way he plays downhill. I love the physical style. I think when he overruns or he misses with his hands, he's in trouble. I don't want to play him in pass coverage because I did not see anything that gave me that, okay, he's a 3-down player. He's going to never come off the field, that kind of deal. Yeah. I'm not sure. I mean, that part of, there's some violence to his game, but I think things are going to have to change for him in the NFL when it comes to defending the pass.
Yeah. And I think that's because he doesn't turn really well, Bryan Broaddus. Just me watching him.
There's some stiffness there, yeah.
Kind of stiff, doesn't turn, doesn't backpedal really well. He's another one of these linebackers that's a moving forward guy. You know how we look at Jalen Walker from Georgia, and we go, all right, I want Walker going forward. He can play edge sometime, but I don't want him going backwards. Chris Paul is kind of the light, and he plays number 11 too, Bryan. Just all these kids wearing number 11.
all these kids are wearing number 11 now. It's crazy.
Michael got so many kids out here, but I would much rather him moving forward than backwards. So if you're drafting him, you have to consider that when you're playing him or whatnot. But I think that limits him a bunch because if you're I mean that's just the league. The league is going to find out what you can and can't do, and they're going to throw the ball at you. So this basically makes him like a rotational linebacker, which is I got him in the 4, Bryan.
Yeah, I do too. I much, when I looked at, and I was trying to kind of get him in the 3rd if I could, because with our UCLA kid, and I couldn't get him up there, and I think to me that, the run aspect of it, I think that's good. Pass defender, going to need some work there for sure.
Tough business, Bryan Broaddus. Tough business. Pretty interesting crop of guys today.
Yeah.
I think we still got a lot of offensive linemen to watch, man, because every time we watch new ones, we still walk away with some positive. Like, I don't think the offensive line stuff has fell off just yet, and I don't think tight end has fallen off. It's probably gonna be a hard time finding linebackers in this draft, Brian, because some of the ones that we've seen, you know, they're like there's a big space in my board for linebackers. So maybe next week we need to watch some of those guys and kind of.
I'll tell you what. Yeah, I'll tell you what, Voch, have you, excuse me for interrupting, which I always tend to do.
You good.
Have you watched a center at all? Have you watched any centers?
I haven't watched anybody center. No, sir.
See, but that's what I'm saying, because if it's a Dane Brugler top 50 or Pro Football Focus, man, there's no centers. Is there a center name? I've been kind of waiting that all of a sudden, I mean, we're going to see. I've seen Texas play a lot and I've seen Majors the center, but I don't know if he's coming up down the pike here or not. But I've yet to watch a center play, and that's kind of unusual because the last couple of years it seems like we've watched some guys that have been some pretty good centers that have been players. But
just looking at PFF's board, all of their centers are at the bottom. They're all kind of down bottom a little bit. Now you may find a guard that can eventually play center.
He can play center, yeah.
Marcus Mbao from Purdue will probably end up playing center.
Yeah, sure.
You know, but we'll see. Like, you know, Senior Bowl is probably going to answer a lot of that stuff. But yeah, man, sure. It's just not a heavy center, linebacker, and free safety's kind of like that every year. But yeah, we're just saying there's a big blank space.
Yeah, here you are, man. You're just gonna take a shot. You just had to throw the safety thing in there.
Huh?
You just had to throw the safety thing in there. Killing those safeties.
My headphone.
Every time I bring up a safety, whether I'm on the draft show with you now, you're like, Brian, what did you think about that kid from I'm just like, I'm gonna get you to like one of these safeties. I know you like the Georgia kid. I know you like the Georgia kid.
I don't like him enough to take him at 12.
Wow.
I like him.
Wow.
He's a first round grade, but Cowboy wise, I got other things I need than safety, but that's another conversation.
Yeah. I tell you what, I mean, I'm just kind of, man, it seems like I've got a lot of these rounds. Like as I'm looking at my board in the third round, I kind of hate when I got like 5 guys at position. You know, I mean, it shows that maybe, but I want to be able to say, okay, hey, this guy could be a 2. And maybe that's what you're talking about with the guy you mentioned, like Charles Grant, that all of a sudden he goes to the Senior Bowl and everything is, all the boxes start getting checked. You're like, whoa, against good competition, looks athletic, works well at the combine. Okay, this guy is a second round player. See, when I feel like when I got these guys, I got all those running backs stacked in there. I've got all those edges. non-bendy edges all stacked in there. That's what I was talking with John Smelk about with the Giants. I'm like, Johnny, I got bendy edges and I got that from you. But the way my board looks right now, it kind of is like, I hate how I just have that middle clutter in that third round. But maybe that's why Dallas, that's the thing that I worry about a little bit, Voch, before we get out of here, is that all of a sudden there's going to be third round grades and you don't have a 4.
Sure.
You know what I'm saying? That worries me a little bit.
Yeah.
I'm speaking from a Dallas Cowboys perspective. If you're another team, congratulations. If you have your pick in the 4th round, you're probably going to get a third round player out of that.
I think depending on how the board shakes out, Brian, I think we're going to find a way to get another pick up there somewhere.
Yeah, I think you're right about that too. I think you're right, but man, it's going to have to be somebody like wanting to get super aggressive to go get somebody like Detroit wanted to go get Arnold, the corner from Alabama last year. And you have to be willing to, maybe drop down 5 or 6 spots to pick up pick it up and then go from there. But man, I'd love to have 2 3s. I'd love to have 2 3s, because if you tell me I don't have a 4, give me another 3 and I will feel 1,000% better about it.
I'll tell you what might happen. Then we're going to get up out of here, Brian. Look at your second round receivers.
Oh yeah,
I bet you a team is going to be like, "Hey man, these wide receivers running out. Let me move up to 12 to go get a Buka while the getting is good. Let me go get Golden while the getting is good, because I don't want to be stuck taking a receiver I may not like."
I agree.
So we'll see what happens, Brian. Bro, hey, I'm going to let you go. Appreciate you, sir, for tapping in with us. Thank y'all for tapping in on the Doing All Right. Y'all please go in the comments. Let us know what you think about anything that we've said about any one of these players here. Y'all be sure to follow me. I'm trying to get paid on Twitter, y'all, please. VOCHLONBARDI. And y'all make sure you tap in with BRYN Broaddus on social media. The next draft show is going to be on Tuesday. Y'all still watch it anyway. I'll be back on that Thursday, but y'all watch it anyway, okay? Please. I'm begging you. Please. And we'll catch y'all next time, all right? Crown.